Good afternoon. This is the media news. The headlines. Giving KCM back to Vedanta economic suicide, charges the Patriotic Front. Electoral Commission of Zambia waiting for a new statutory instrument to set date for the KABUSHI by-election.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RainGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
The media news in detail. The Electoral Commission of Zambia ECZ says it is yet to finalize the statutory instrument obligation for the vacancy in the nullified KABUSHI parliamentary election. Addressing the media in Lusaka Monday, ECZ Chief Electoral Officer Patrick Nshindano says the setting of the date for both nomination and the polls in the KABUSHI by-election is dependent on how quickly the SI is done. And Mr. Nshindano says the Commission has commenced a benchmarking exercise for both diaspora and electronic voting.
The nullification of the KABUSHI parliamentary seat by the Constitutional Court on Thursday, 30th July 2022 brought a lot of jubilation for the ruling United Party for National Development UPND members who feel the elections were not free and fair. However, the former KABUSHI lawmaker Bowman Lusambo, who has accepted the ruling of the court, says he is determined to win his seat back as he feels he is still loved by the people of KABUSHI and that they will still vote for him. Meanwhile, the Electoral Commission of Zambia ECZ Chief Electoral Officer Patrick Nshindano says the setting of the date for both nominations and the polls in KABUSHI by-election is dependent on how quick the Commission will finalize the statutory instrument.
The Commission is yet to conclude with the statutory instrument for that by-election. Once that is done, we'll be able to announce the date. It could even fall within the Luangwa Council or not, depending on how quickly the SI will be done. So when that is done, we'll announce to the public the date for both nomination as well as the polls for the KABUSHI by-election, which was also nullified by the Constitutional Court.
And the Commission says it has commenced the benchmarking exercise for both diaspora and electronic voting to ensure that no one is left behind when it comes to electing their country's leaders.
The Commission has commenced benchmarking exercise for both diaspora voting as well as the electronic voting. We have colleagues that will be visiting Kenya as they undertake their general elections, which is coming up this month, which is August. They will be having their general elections. Part of the observation will also look at the practice of diaspora voting, which is done there, so that we can see how best we can implement it as a country.
Meanwhile, the Commission says it has since 1st June and 31st July 2022 registered a total of 2,810 voters under the continuous registration of voters exercise, but that none of the registered voters will participate in any elections until the voter register is certified by ECZ.
You find individuals that are on the register that should not be there. The law provides for objections so that they can be removed from the register. Appeals, there are valid reasons for appeals, and indeed notification of death, among others, that can be brought forward during the inspection of the register.
Members of the general public who have lost their voters card as well as those who have never registered as voters have since been encouraged to take advantage of the continuous voter registration exercise and get a new voters card to ensure that they do not miss out in voting for a leader of their choice should there be a by-election in their constituency. Prudence Jota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Patriotic Front presidential hopeful Emmanuel Mwamba has described government's intention to give back Konkola copper mines to Vedanta as economic suicidal. Last month, Mines and Minerals Development Minister Paul KABUSHI directed ZCCMIH through its lawyers to quickly dialogue issues surrounding KCM and Vedanta mineral resources outside the court. But the Center for Trade Policy and Development Executive Director Isaac Mwaipopo has proposed that government holds stakeholders dialogue meetings to obtain divergent views on the matter.
The mining sector contributes highly to Zambia's tax revenue, although many stakeholders believe the country needs to earn more from its resources. The dispute between ZCCMIH and Vedanta Resources over Konkola copper mines has been a thorny issue in Zambia's economic landscape. Minister of Mines and Mineral Development Paul KABUSHI believes that the best way to resolve the matter is outside the court, so is the mining investor.
I have since given an instruction to the ZCCMIH to quickly tell their lawyers to reach out to Vedanta lawyers. We must sit around the table and begin to discuss. This is actually, as was stated by His Excellency the President, that we cannot solve these matters in court.
Vedanta, among other commitments, seeks to invest $1 billion United States in KCM growth strategies that will include exploration and mine development, processing and value addition to copper using both upstream and downstream linkages. The Patriotic Front administration, just like some sections of society, labeled Vedanta as a bad investor, and that perception has not phased out. And PF presidential hopeful Emmanuel Mamba says it will be suicidal to bring back Vedanta.
They declared losses. They polluted our waters, Kafue River. There's a successful case against them to that effect. They didn't pay their obligations, statutory, and bills such as ZESCO. They left a huge bill with ZESCO. They didn't pay our mine suppliers to the extent of $200 million. We think that they ran down that asset, they ran down the mine than when they found it in 2003. Giving Vedanta back to KCM back to Vedanta is economic suicide. We'll be sabotaging our own economy. Vedanta's own record shows that they are not a corporate good citizen, that they don't value our asset, but they just plunder our assets.
But the Center for Trade Policy and Development, CTPD, Executive Director Isaac Mwaipopo says government needs to build consensus on the matter.
Of the considered view that this is something that should be subjected to public debates. Government should consider setting up platforms where various stakeholders can engage to share the potential benefits and disadvantages of retaining an investor, so that ultimately, if there is an agreement to bring them back, it should be an agreement that is having some kind of buy-in, not only from the government side, but also the public. More importantly, it's the community that has been hosting this investment. We've continued to see in our country that a number of multinational companies come through, they invest in our country without properly plowing back.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
3 women living with disability in Lusaka's Chawama compound have complained that men shun marrying them owing to the fact that they are physically challenged. Speaking to Camnet News, Margaret Tembo says ever since her husband ran away in 2013 and left her with 5 children, she has been unable to find another man who is willing to marry her. They say men should desist from assuming women with disabilities are incapable of keeping a man, adding that they too equally are capable of keeping a home. Let's look at this.
They say beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, and these beautiful women from Lusaka's Chawama constituency have reached out to Camnet TV seeking an audience for what they term as a misfortune. These 3 women are physically challenged, and because of their condition, they have been unable to find love, or rather a man willing and honest enough to marry them. When speaking to this reporter, Margaret Tembo, 44, of Lusaka's Chawama constituency, says she was once married to her husband, who in the year 2013 decided to run away, leaving her with 5 children to fend for, all by herself, without considering her condition. These women have lamented that they face several challenges in regards to finding love and a man to marry them, as most of them think there will be nothing but a burden to them.
Challenges zimonga pankania vikwats uzapeza mwamuna anga kufune bwino akukonda kuma fests but akambomvera voka mba bantu na bablulu bake upeza takusira chabe mwana ku dumping aenda chifika cha situation yatu ya mnitirimo chita tikwanisa kuchita chiri chonse cha mniting anga kwanisa mtuntulutima chita kuwasha kupyanga tipyanga kupika tipika na kumusunga mwamuna bwino mwananga chitira mtuntulu perangu na kumuchira ndaba isetika konda timakonda.
And Susan Mumba, 50 of the same area, who shares a similar story, says men should desist from thinking women with disabilities are incapable of keeping a man in their home, adding that they are also capable of doing the things that able people can do, and even more effectively.
So, bafuna batusafe consider na ifomene, turakabila okukwata amayanda, turakabila okukwata amayanda, okukwata kafo wesu, uinga tuwafuirishako, okuringa nama challenge yotu inga pita mwamona. So, inani kuwata abana. Number through those challenges, abalume besu balafiro kuikala na ifwe kulatinishiwo kwati kuchibarense kati au poechidema.
Lufreja Lupia, 57, who is also a national advocate on right for persons with disability, has also added a voice.
Now let me talk. Imwe, na ifomeni, love ipela batunturu, na ifwe love tupela maume. Nomba bushokule mana ekantu. Ukulemana tekantu awu chakwati bale chita okay ntina lando kwatira kuba tunturu bene tomba wa upaka onda taka kwatara ngoni figa taka there are something like that, but for us it's worse.
Meanwhile, a clergyman, Bishop John Mambo, has called on families to show love and affection towards persons with disabilities, saying that if a man chooses to marry a person with a disability, family members should not stop him, as we are all made in the image of God.
So I think the church, we must put our house in order and speak to such, not only speak to such, but to pray over it, because it's very, very painful. No one chooses how he or she is to be born. Even I, as I talk to you, I am both. I have got glaucoma. That's handicap.
Messi Chanika reporting for Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
A 51-year-old man of Lusaka's Mutendere compound is at the verge of losing his legs as he battles a strange disease which has left him paralyzed. Rabson Bao tells Camnet News that his condition has crippled his movements, making it difficult for him to make ends meet. Mr. Bao adds that all efforts to seek medical attention thus far have not been successful as he is unable to sustain any medical cost. And a neighbor to Mr. Bao, identified as Clifford, says there is no proper care that he receives, hence the need for well wishes and government to extend a helping hand.
The day starts and ends indoor for a 51-year-old Rabson Bao of Lusaka's Mutendere compound, who is unable to walk due to a strange disease he suffers from. Rabson explains to this journalist that his legs started swelling as a result of a pimple which led to them being paralyzed. He says some medical consultation at the Levi Mwanawasa University Teaching Hospital revealed that his legs have been triggered by a blood clot. Rabson now explains that he has been in this condition for almost a year, which he describes unbearable.
After months, then vambo pura kukwelera komanzo. So vima tusava manzi vitavoterera.
Okay. Okay. So papita maizi angati pe mvutika na problem ya mene.
Last year in August.
He is appealing for medical and financial help to enable him start a business once he seeks medical attention. He says the hospital is screaming for 380 kwacha in order for a scan to be conducted, which has left him bedridden as family members have not come to his aid.
Clinic, diani nilaki na nilipe. Kapena government danga ntandizeko, kapena ndani, I don't know. So nchoma cheni ligone kudoka na ningaeni. Kuenda na wheelchair.
So pomna inda ku hospital wanakamba ati vuta njana.
Wananuza ati blood inashita clot.
Vuta blood inashita clot.
Veins, yes.
So kutoa person support ilionse medical support.
Hospital. Kulibu medical support ilionse. Kali ndrama zanzifuni.
Wafuna zingati ndarama.
panenze after nyende hapa ku review zana zati nyende kuscan in 3 pempa kaili hapa na bloka na kudola kwa $9 so nezo pempa kwa nwanga ntanze kundana business so that niambe kugulisa ko kai nienda na uche ya manja malo ninayo kudala market.
Clifford Mawere is neighbor to Rapson Mbao.
Money condition yawe basically wanafanya mawewe swanga hapo bani mpezi katika vuti kale katika nyamuku lazima niongezwe alimushiwe.
Nelson Zulu for Camnet News in Lusaka.
Well, that's it for the media news. The headlines once again. Giving back KCM to Vedanta economic suicide, charges the Patriotic Front. The Electoral Commission of Zambia waiting for new SI to set date for KABUSHI by-election. Well, that's all we had for you for the media news. Thank you so much for choosing us. Join us again for our main news at 19:30 this evening. Good afternoon.